recording right now. So real quick, I'm gonna before we hop into this, kick it over to Dan. I want to mention a quick two quick things. Our pre-survey is actually in the chat, so please complete the pre-survey. It's just so we have a baseline to kind of start from. I also sent out a post survey after this. In addition, I want to share with you all a program we have coming up that I'm going to invite. I believe we have Normandy here, Sumner, we have Jennings, Riverview. So I'm going to be inviting all of you actually to this program here. It's the What's Next Fair. So we're going to have a What's Next Fair action. I'm going to send all this information to your schools, November 15th and November 17th. The What's Next Fair is a college and career exploration fair. We invite tons of schools to come out to meet tons of vendors, talk about possibilities post-graduation, and also for that senior and junior year, just the possibilities for your future. It gives you the chance to sit down and actually talk to vendors table by table about just what you can do post-graduation, what it takes to get there, and it takes to figure out those next steps for your life. So that is my spiel. So real quick, I'm gonna give a quick introduction to Dan, and Dan, I'm gonna turn it over to you. Is that okay? Okay, I will take that. Yes. Take that one right there as a yes. So Dan Lester. Dan graduated from Missouri University of Science and Technology with a Bachelor in Science and Business Administration. Business and Management Information Systems with minor in Information Science and Technology. Dan is a certified construction suicide prevention trainer, certified mental health first aider. As a director of field diversity, inclusion, and culture at Clayco, Dan focuses on endeavors that affect the community, addresses the culture of job sites, and makes them more inclusive. Over the last 12 years, Dan has helped organizations and their people successfully find solutions to culture, equity, and inclusion obstacles and identify opportunities for growth in their space. Dan is active across many organizations, serves on the Construction Career Development Initiative Board, which he helped found. He also serves on the Missouri S&T Minor Alumni Association, Go Miners, of Directors and Academy of Minor Athletics. Dan is also a professional speaker on a regional and national scale. So with all that said, I want to introduce Dan Lester. Let's give it up for Dan Lester, everybody. Let's give a silent hand clap or post claps on the screen.
Hey, how y'all doing today? Listen, Dan Lester, you heard all that stuff. I'm glad to be here. I want to just thank the Little Bit Foundation, William, and the entire Miranda, the entire crew there, Michelle, all of you. Thank you folks so much for just the work that you're doing in the community. So here this morning, it's great to be here with you. Students, listen, I wish I could be with y'all, man. I love student energy. It helps me, it drives me. And it's one of those things, before I got this wonderful job I'm in currently with Clayco, I was working at a school here for several years. So I enjoy that piece. I coached football, used to coach football back in those days. But we're going to get started because I don't want to belabor our point here. And really, I've got a little shortened time frame. So I'm on a bunch of, I got 3 meetings back to back today. So I'm excited to be able to share with you all some of these transferable skills that we're going to talk about, and really just about things that can help you and what we're looking for in the world of business, but also help you some very simple things that if you master them and if you begin to work on the mastery of them, will be very beneficial. In fact, I think every professional on this call and every student here would also probably agree. If you certainly the professionals that, one of the top things that we're engaging with is going to always be communication. And so the majority of relationships that we're in break down because of a lack of communication. There's some sort of communication breakdown where somebody communicated something different to what the other thought was going to happen. So I am the Director of Field Diversity, Inclusion, and Culture for Clayco. We'll talk a little bit more about Clayco, but let's go into a little bit about myself here. So I'd like to let y'all know who I am. So first and foremost, I'm an entrepreneur. One of the biggest things and proudest things I do, and I always believe that you can always make your own way. And so one of the things that was really important to me, we have a media production company. So the video that I think you'll be able to see here later in the presentation, that video, I created that video. So and shot it, filmed it, and all that. And I got into that when I was in high school. I got into video production and didn't want it to be a business of mine. But next thing I know, several years later, had opportunities and really we created a very good business, and now it does very well. And so do video. I've been able to do videos for Porsche, been able to do videos for Audi, several local nonprofits. So it's been really exciting time to be able to do that. I'm also a professional speaker. That's the Art of Adaption. My wife and I, Bernea, you'll see a little bit about her in a second. We have that together, and I Am Inclusion is something that I just kind of, it's a brand that I've embodied, that, inclusion is something that we are all existing, and we work to include folks every single day. Second thing, I'm a husband and I'm a friend, man. That's my wife, is my best friend. I've known her since I was 8 years old. We've been together since we were 12, y'all. Can't believe that. The bottom two pictures right there are my wife and I when we were in high school, senior year, back when, I don't know if y'all still dress, people still dress alike, but back in the day, that was cute back in the day when you dress like your little boo, you get your little outfits, go to Six Flags or something. And so she took senior pictures with me, and that's less on the prom right there. And so she worked in the business with me, and also she is my partner in life, and the mother of my beautiful boys who are right here. We got two boys, Daniel Jr., but we call him Dane, and Leyland. So these are pieces that make me who I am. I'm a Black man with Black boys. And for anybody who knows, it's a different way that we have to engage and be a father to these kids, man. But these kids are doing great. Actually, my oldest son goes to school with William's son. So, we get a chance to hang out a lot, but it's fun, man. So I enjoy these things, and it's also cool to see them grow and develop because they help give me hope. They've taught me so much about the work that I even do, right? Let's talk about Clayco real quick. Clayco is about a $5 billion organization. We did about 4.9 last year, so we're going to certainly eclipse that this year in 2022. This is the building. If you're looking at this picture, if you've all been on Kings Highway, the building that overlooks the park is 100 North Kings Highway, right next to, close to Lindell and Kings Highway, and it is looking real good right here. This building has no right angles. There are no right angles in this building. So everything in this building had to be designed specifically for this project. So it is a very interesting piece. There's also no curves in the building. There's no rounded corners of anything in the building. So everything is angles, but not right angles. There are other angles. So it's a crazy, crazy thing that just doesn't typically happen in design. So everything had to be done. We've got about close to 3,000 employees. We'll talk a little bit more about that, where safety is huge. And one of the big things for us is safety, making sure people are safe on job sites. And we've got two different types of workforces. We have our office workforce, we have the same thing any office would have: accountants, IT, project managers. We actually are unique, and we have a lot of different other pieces in our business, and I'll tell you more about those. But we also have the skilled trades. So about maybe 1,500 of those, maybe 1,000 of those, 1,200 to 1,000 of those people in out of our employee list. Those are skilled trades, men and women and others who are working in their hands, working with their tools and using their skills every single day to engage, using their skills every single day to engage in what the work that we are doing. So it's a very good thing for us to be able to have and engage. So that's kind of how we get down with that. So here we go. Y'all can see all the things. We're the #1 design builder in the country. We do in most industrial facilities. Let's talk about a little bit more about Clayco real quick here. We build, right? So when we build, it's one of those things that when we build at Clayco, it is a situation for us where we work and we hire the best people. Okay, one of the things I got to do when I get out of here is go do orientation again. So a lot of folks during the pandemic were closing down. There's that Kings Highway building again. A lot of folks were closing down, where when we, were shutting down during the pandemic, in our industry was actually engaging and further going more and actually expanded throughout the pandemic. So we didn't have any slowdown or any kind of lack in that space. We do what we say we're going to do. We use the golden rule, and we make sure we treat people the way we'd like to be treated. And sometimes really taking that to the next step and treating folks the way they want to be treated. That's extremely important in our conversations. We got selective partners. We can be selective about who we work with because that's our brand, right? You don't got to work for everybody. When you do what you're supposed to do, when you bring yourself the right presentation, Clayco is a brand. And so when you have the right brand, you can then use that brand the way you want. Nike doesn't just take any athlete, right? None of the other brands don't just take anybody. They go and they research and they do something in who they're going to invest in. And same thing with you, right? So if you want to work with somebody, you want to be you want to choose who you're going to work with based on what the kind of happens there. And of course, I told you, I mentioned safety is a huge thing for us. Inside of our entity, There are several different companies. We've got a real estate group. And so if you're looking at anything out there on 170 and 170 and Olive, that new development there, it's one of the things that we're doing there. If you're looking at the new development out there in Chesterfield, Wild Horse Village, that's one of our development pieces. And also there's a development there Charles Riverfront, the all CRG projects, and even everything by the airport where Express Scripts is, and all that North Point or that North Park Place where that new Amazon facility is, and all those pieces, we own that land there. So one of the things that we do is we actually develop and we purchase land. All right, so we got to hire people that have those skill sets in commercial real estate, etc. We also have the #1 architecture firm in Missouri and one of the top in the country is Lamar Johnson Architecture Company here. And they've got the most registered architects out of anybody, certainly in the state. And they're a huge group based out of Chicago. Our headquarters is now in Chicago, although we started in St. Louis in 1984. Great place to be, architecture and design firm, engineering firms there. We have our regular construction arm, which is Clayco. And then we have Concrete Strategy. They are the 10th largest concrete company in the country. All right, so they've got most of those skilled labor force works under there, and they do tons and tons of concrete. You'd be surprised, but concrete is one of those things that you usually don't see a lot of it, but it's pretty much everywhere you go. It's underneath most things that you're engaging with and doing, etc. Last thing is curtain wall. So you see any of those buildings that are all glass, that's what they call a curtain wall. And we have a company called Ventana that is engaged in that. So part of it that is just the length and the breadth of our organization. We have a huge commitment to our community. We do a lot of stuff. We all across the country. We kind of reinvest in communities that we engage in. One of the things that we have is what our mantra is called Beyond These Walls. And so when you have what we call Beyond These Walls, every project that we engage in, we're working to go things and do things outside and beyond these walls. And so I won't go too much into that because I really want to get to more into what we want to talk about here, which is branding and some of our kind of transferable skills in the workplace. Now, if we were in person, I'd like a lot more engagement and activity. However, we are not able to engage and see that. So one of those pieces that you want to be able to see is kind of how folks engage in this space. Last thing I want to show you all is these are the traits that we have. These are our values. So these are the things that we expect employees to embody: your creativity, courage, mentorship, teamwork, being able to adapt at the course of a dime, right? Things change on a daily basis. And so, you could be going 100 miles an hour one direction, and the next direction you need to pivot and change directions. And you have to be able to move and be agile. That's how we stayed effective, and that's how we stayed profitable during the pandemic. And that's how we're going to stay profitable in general. We grow significantly every year. And we have certainly, I think we've tripled in size since I've been here. And so if you start looking at those types of pieces, you start to realize that, hey, we've got a lot of things to do. So being able to adjust to the changing times is one of those important things. Having stamina, being able to make sure you're getting results, and being able to have a sense of urgency. Hurry up every chance you get is what our founder always says. And also knowing what leadership is. And leadership is different from management, right? Leadership is different. You can manage a process. And some folks manage people, but people shouldn't be managed, they should be led. And so knowing how to lead people there as opposed to managing them there, when you lead them, they'll go on their own. You try to lead them and they'll follow you into that place instead of managing them and telling them what to do and give them more control of that space. So let's move into some of these skills that we need to be able to embody, and what businesses like ours and others, and really you can use at any point in your life, is there. It is communication. One of the biggest things about communication is this loop, okay? There's a sender and there is a receiver. Now, most folks say, well, hey, if you receive my message wrong, then that's on you, right? And so I hear a lot of folks even today saying that, hey, if somebody doesn't like what you say, or somebody doesn't get it, it's not my problem. And to an extent, they're correct, right? If somebody doesn't understand what you say, or they miscalculate or misrepresent the interpretation of what you presented to them, it's up to you to decide that. But if you look at this on this piece here, I just want you to pay attention. The sender is responsible for making sure that this message is received properly. Now, how do we know if the message is received properly? It's through the feedback loop. Feedback is important. And so some of us, you can't tell us anything, right? Some of us are so volatile, some of us are so fragile, is that sometimes people are trying to tell us something and we so combative because we're not used to being learning how to receive feedback. One of those skills you got to learn how to do is how to give feedback and receive feedback. And one of the major things you want to do when you're receiving feedback is asking yourself the question, first and foremost, is it true? If somebody gives you some feedback that's true, how can you get upset with them? Now, you might not have liked how they delivered it, right? My wife used to say to me all the time, it's not what you said, it's how you said it. And so when they get into those pieces, hey, all we can do is really try to make sure that we are engaging and doing that. But when she gave me that feedback and said it's how I said it, I got an opportunity to re-engage and send the message again. Now, one of the things I want you all to pay attention to this message is the channel. When we talk about the channel is important. The channel will be something like text messaging or email or verbal. You know, there's a lot of nonverbal communication. And so oftentimes when we're sitting there a place and somebody crosses their arms, now some people do it for comfort. Some people might be doing it because it's cold. Now it's starting to get cold outside. But some people also do that subconsciously when they are closed off to the conversation. And so if somebody has closed arms and their feet or their legs are crossed, they are typically having what we consider closed off body posture. And the psychologists present, or they kind of theorize, that 75% of our communication is nonverbal. So make sure you got nonverbal communication game is also important. The channel matters. And then the noise, right? The noise is also something that can change how the message is received. And noise could be anything from physical noise in the environment, or it could be somebody being distracted. It could be your filters, what I call filters, or your biases, that if somebody reminds you of, if the person speaking to you reminds you of somebody that you dislike, everything they say is gonna come out through that lens of dislike, not because of what they currently said, because of the noise that's already there and the filters that you have that have told you that's something you want to be concerned about. So not just communication is a huge piece that we got to pay attention to and understand and engage with. Okay. Now I think I'm going to sit here. We're going to watch a quick video, and it gives a little cartoon version of some communication and something I think everybody could still learn and engage from. All right, let's check it out.
Tested to see who can speak up and listen well. I'm your host, Walker Walter.
And I'm your host, Melissa Marissa. First, we have John Rigby. Last year, he famously took out his cell phone while Frankie Richardson was telling him about how her cat, Mr. Pickles, had diabetes.
It's like he didn't even care about what she had to say at all.
We have our judges scoring our athletes on a scale of 1 to 10. This is the listening event, so judges will be looking for proper active listening technique. Judges are looking for eye contact and nodding. You also have to give someone undivided attention, meaning you're actually trying to understand what the person is saying. Asking questions and making acknowledging statements also leads to a high score. Let's take this to our woman on the ground, Carissa Callahan. Carissa?
John is engaging in conversation with his friend Valentina.
So Steph just left me. I didn't have anyone to see the movie with, and she didn't even say sorry. Like, we've been friends since she moved in across the street. Yeah, it's like really messed up.
Love that question asking. He would have gotten a higher score for restating what Valentina's original concern was and asking a clarifying question. But overall, it shows he's engaged.
I have like 3 hours of homework and 2 tests.
Oh no, it looks like a really, really cool caterpillar is climbing pretty close to John's sandwich. Look at those colours. This is a very cool caterpillar. Let's see what happens.
But now she's acting like we don't even watch music videos together 24/7.
Oh, hey, cool. Look at this caterpillar.
Hey, look at what?
He wants to talk about that very cool caterpillar because he's no longer interested in the conversation, but also wants to be a good friend to Valentina.
Hey, you know, that really sucks. Have you tried telling her how you feel and that you're upset?
I haven't. It's pretty cool of you to hear me out like this. Let's get to Mr. Roberts.
And he recovers. John clearly did the right thing by not getting distracted, even if he was getting bored. Then he nailed it with a great introspective question. Judges give it an 8.2. He was docked a few points for looking away, and we could have seen John stating the concern back to her. Back to you, Melissa Marissa.
All right, so I'm going to stop it there for the sake of time. So you all get a good perspective of that is. And also, by the way, if you all have any questions while the conversation or something you'd like me to cover, we've got about 15 minutes left. Please don't hesitate to drop it in the chat. They will let me know. I can't see the chats on my screen because that window apparently is messing with what you all are seeing. So if you just let them know, they'll give me a cue and we can answer those things. Now, what you all are looking at right here, of course, is a key pivotal point. Now during the pandemic, some of those handshakes have changed to fist bumps, but most times, certainly still in professional spaces, you're going to be your handshake is a form of communication, and one of those what they call first impressions. And so it used to be considered that women would have a different type of handshake than men, and you kind of take a woman by the fingers. But nowadays, certainly in professional spaces, it's not that way at all. Women are kind of in the same boat. So everybody should have a nice firm handshake. Now, we would practice this in person, but one of the key things about a good handshake is a great way to do it, because sometimes you'll catch folks who want to squeeze your hand, especially as men. The guys want to squeeze your hand all tight to show you how strong they are. So a way to kind of get that from somebody squeezing your fingers is to lock in right there between those thumbs. You lock those thumbs in, you catch right here, and then you grab the hand and then shake the hand. And you always want to make eye contact with the person while you're shaking their hand, and you give a nice good shake. Hello, how you doing? My name is Dan Lester, blah, 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 right? So that's going to be key, because a firm, you don't have to squeeze overly hard or anything like that, but a nice, firm, confident handshake says a lot about an individual in the world of business. And so that's something that folks say is trivial, but I know a company right now that will hire you in the trades today if you were able to have a handshake, strong handshake, and nice eye contact. You would have an opportunity to start your career in a certain career trade that will make you up to $40 an hour. These folks are making up to 150, 120, 130 grand a year with overtime. So they making some really good money, change the entire thing just for shaking hands properly. So learning great communication skills is a very key and pivotal point. You will be surprised how many things go well or how things can go poorly if you don't have that way, but also just kind of allows that to not be a disqualifying factor for you in what you're trying to do. Another thing that we've got to work on is how we deal with conflict, right? And when you deal with conflict, you got to figure out, okay, is it good or bad? Is it up or down? And so one thing we're going to do is we're going to watch another video about how to resolve conflict from the same people. We're going to go real quickly and talk about some conflict stuff here, another skill that we all need to learn and deal with.
But everyone's going tonight. I don't understand why I have to stay and babysit. It's not fair. It's not fair. It's not fair. Oh, it's not fair. Throughout our life, we may experience conflict with friends, family members, and even romantic partners. Conflict is when people disagree on an issue or can't get along well. Sometimes those conflicts go too far. Nasty personal remarks about the other person may be said. One or both people in the argument raises their voices in anger. Sometimes there's even physical violence. If you want to avoid getting to such extremes, it's important to have conflict resolution skills. Here's how it works. Conflict resolution is something that you need to practice, and it requires the effort of everyone involved in the conflict. Determine what the disagreement is actually about. Explain how you feel and how the conflict is affecting you. Listen openly to what the other person feels and needs, and try to understand their point of view. Brainstorm solutions that will make both people happy, or find a compromise that both people can live with and agree on what each of you will do. Stick to what has been decided. And if the solution is not working, start the process over. The more you practice conflict resolution, the better you'll become at it. Having the skill to resolve conflicts is a sign that you're growing up. Till next time, don't forget to visit me at amaze.org.
All right, so part of this conversation is to really looking at, conflict resolution. And when you say, okay, I'm engaging in conflict, I'm engaging in pieces. And conflict is a natural part of life. In fact, we don't learn more. I would venture to say that you learn more from the moments of conflict than you do from the moments where they're comfortable. Conflict or conflict creates discomfort. And now whether they're positive or not is a different story. We all have work to do in that space. And I'm not saying I've arrived, but I've certainly gotten better than I used to be in these spaces, right? But learning how to do conflict, first thing you got to do is practice what we talked about first, which is listening, right? So hearing what somebody has to say, and making sure that you provide, if they're speaking to you, you provide feedback or rephrase the conversation so you understand exactly what the issue is before you get upset. Now, oftentimes people come to us and look crazy and they testing you and you say, man, I know you testing me today. Or they try, your mom might tell you, boy, you working my last nerves. Y'all know what they say, right? So those types of situations you got to engage. And sometimes it's not the best time to engage in conflict, especially when you get into the professional setting. You've got to learn a couple of things. One of the key things you got to learn about professional communication is you never want to fight. You never want to engage in a fight proverbially, so to speak, theoretically, if you are standing on the downside of a hill, right? So if somebody has authority over you, if somebody has standing at the top of a hill and you're down a hill, it is easier for them, so to speak, to attack or to have an advantage in that situation in those cases. So a lot of times power, if you're dealing with teachers or if you're dealing with your bosses or your leaders, managers, supervisors, power is a place where we have to be very careful. You can still lead even if you're not a leader. Leadership, as I told you earlier, is not about a position or a title. Leadership is the ability to influence the others around you, learn what they need to be successful, and you learn the skills on how to serve those people aside to you, learn the skills to serve those above you and beneath you if you are in positions that are higher than others, right? So leadership is never about you as the leader. Real leadership is about the people that you are leading and the focus on leadership. So when you go from a place where you were an employee to a leader, the mentality shifts from all about me and what I can get to all about them and how they can do it, because I'm no longer responsible for doing the work. I'm responsible for managing the people and leading the people that do the work. And there's a different mentality there. But we all say we are a leader. Oh, are you a leader? Are you a leader? Sure. But you can learn leadership skills. And as part of that leadership is to learn what your branding is. Now, I'm not going to do this out loud today because the way we do this would normally be impatient, right? But when you talk about brands, we can know certain brands bring up things, right? I'm not going to have y'all type it for the spirit of time. That's Bitcoin. That's a brand, right? Cryptocurrency, huge new thing going on. I'm sure y'all are familiar with dope, buying those shoes and getting stuff going on. It's a great place to be, but I'm sure y'all are familiar with the GOAT. Y'all know what this is. It's Fortnite, right? But they all have brands. And every time you see a brand, something pops into your mind. Next thing you'll have, I'm sure y'all might know, if you don't know, that's Tesla, right? Tesla has a brand. That's Elon Musk. He's in the public. So there's all these different brands will inspire something in yourself and in people when they see it. Based on the brand, Tesla, y'all realize Tesla doesn't have anybody else. You can't just take your Tesla to the car shop. Right? If your Tesla is in a car accident, Tesla has to fix it. They don't give anybody else their parts. They don't give anybody else their material. Tesla controls everything from start to finish because I don't want you to mess it up. That's their brand, and that's what people pay more for, which is the electrical nature and also the innovation of the business itself. Cryptocurrency goes up and down, but several people, lots of people have been very successful with their cryptocurrency investments throughout the years because they were smart in how they engage in those spaces. But they're all brands that we see and we recognize and we know. Every single day you walk outside, every single day you're at school, you are creating a brand. So you're talking to your teachers, you're talking about a brand. When you respond to questions, that's part of your brand. When you're in the hallways, that's part of your brand. And when you're at home, that's part of your brand. What you do, like Miranda mentioned earlier on social media, is part of your brand. And while they can't theoretically use those qualifications, or they can't use your social media to disqualify you from a job, I'm going to ask you, how would you know? How would you know if your social media was used in the decision to not hire you or to hire you or not? You wouldn't, because nobody's going to tell you. So you don't want somebody to go out there, search your name after you applied for a job, your dream job that you wanted, and you get into that position, and all of a sudden, oh no, can't help it, you can't get the job because they saw some stuff, foolishness on your page. Make your page private, and also go and try to see what's going on down there, and make sure you ain't got nothing crazy on your timeline. All right, it's extremely important. You can go back and delete old posts and old things to do it. Y'all know people will go back and find things about you, and you may not have ever intended as a freshman, sophomore, junior, or senior in high school to be in the place that you know you could be. Some of you all are going to be in very extremely high places, and your past will actually matter. What you did when you were right now is going to actually matter. And if you believe you're going to be somebody there, what matters today? We'll go to that in a minute. I got my own brand, I got my own personal brand logo. So it's not just something you do, this is DFL, my initials. It's a Dan Frank Lester, and I got my own logo and brand. So it's not just something you can think about. You can create that, and you can get your brand made and start getting it and putting it out in places where people want to do it. One of my friends, as I get ready to kind of wrap this up, I hope y'all give me a couple minutes to go over, hopefully. One of my friends is a coach. Her name's Coach Shaquan. Coach Shaquan is always asking me to check my BS. And what that means is your belief system. And so similar to what your brand is, your belief system says, what do you believe about yourself? If you believe that you're going to be successful and you've defined what success looks like, then I'm going to say, if I believe I'm the kind of person, if I believe I'm going to be a millionaire, what would a millionaire do? A millionaire today wouldn't sit down and watch TV all day. A millionaire would find a way to do something productive and learn something in this space and time, or save my money instead of spending my money, because most people are not going to make millionaires off lump sums and win the lottery or get a contract or get a sports contract or a record label. Most of us are not going to hit it big that way. And a lot of folks do hit it big that way. And we heard stories about those who don't keep it because they didn't pay attention, right? So if I believe I'm the person not only that just makes $1 million, but that can actually sustain and retain and keep some of that money, I got to have some belief system. And so whatever you believe about yourself is extremely important. What you believe about yourself is how you respond. You tell me what you believe, and I'm going to look at what you do. If you believe you're going to be successful and all of your actions are telling me that you're unsuccessful, or somebody says, show me your friends and I'll show you your future. And if your friends are not going to positions of being successful, right? Some of y'all have to start making some decisions real soon, because everybody's not going where you're going. And that's okay. They were here for a time. Sometimes you got to cut people off that might be dead weight. So what do you believe in yourself? Whatever you believe about yourself is what you're going to act. And so think about your belief system and how you communicate that outwardly, because everything you do every day is reaffirming what you believe about yourself and also what your brand to be. All right. Now, I'm going to go past a couple of these things here and talk about CCDI real quick, because this is something that I want to make sure we understand. This is an organization that I was here to help create in 2015. And we created this. This is a construction career development initiative program that we started here at Clayco. It is available to anybody in this area here to get signed up. You go to ccdi.org, go to the St. Louis section, and you can have a place where you can sign up. We have monthly academies going on right now every month, where you get a chance to get exposed to some aspect of construction. It's not all about skilled trades. We promote skilled trades a lot, but we also promote architecture, engineer, design, information technology. All those types of careers are in our industry. Cybersecurity, there's all kinds of ways you can do it. So it's not just one thing. I never knew that a position like mine would ever exist in places where I am today. So those are the types of things that we do. We celebrate our tradespeople. We have signing days. We have partners that donate tools. So if you're interested in working with your hands, it's a great place. If you're interested in construction, project management, architecture, engineering, design, accounting, IT, we have those opportunities for you as well, because even though you don't understand it, if you're in IT and construction, it makes you valuable. If you're if you know how to do construction accounting, makes you more valuable, because there's a specific nature to those pieces and those things. Let's watch a real quick video, and then we will finish this thing up coming down.
Since 2015, the Construction Career Development Initiative has helped men women, and young adults navigate their unique paths and take control of their stories.
Starting out, I learned early on that school wasn't for me. I wanted to work more so with my hands.
They recruited me into CCDI. Ever since then, I've been hands-on. They've been teaching me what I could do with my life after high school, so I took that and I ran with it.
Well, I wanted to get involved so I can have more opportunities and chances to be able to pick up a trade.
It showed me a lot of different trades. A lot of the trades I didn't know anything about or didn't even think that I could do it.
Showing you different job sites they are connected to, and
it was amazing because I'm experiencing something new that I never ever experienced before.
Learning and, you know, meeting new students that want to become somebody successful coming out of high school to be inside the trade. Somebody asked me, is this just a job or you want to make it as a career? I said I want to make it as a career. I want to go further.
This is your life. Take control of your story and prepare for life after high school.
But it was a good opportunity and experience to go through to get you ready for a real interview.
Every day at my job site, I'm always using stuff I learned from CCDI Academy sessions, from the safety talks, from the soft skills.
My experience as a female in the trade has been actually pretty good so far.
Say be consistent and stay positive.
Don't let anybody say that you can't do it, because you can.
Good pay, good benefits, you hang around good people, and you just learn a lot, you know, whether it's about life or the job.
There's more than one path to success. Control your story and build your foundation for change with CCDI.
All right, real quick, one of the key things I really want you all to see is when you start looking at the salaries that some of the skilled folks make, and this is construction salaries in general, so not just people who are working with their tools, but you'll see from the top boilermakers all the way down to welders, right? You're looking at these high-paying careers, and if you think about what these numbers are, the average household in the United States is making about $50,000 a year. That's the average household in the United States, from the richest to the poorest. In the very middle, right there, average of those, all those salaries of the household incomes is about 50 grand, right? Now, if you take that to Black and brown communities, that number goes down dramatically. I think the average Black family in America is about $25,000 a year, okay? So the average white family is closer to $100,000 annually a year. But if you look at these pieces, just one individual, you get up to project management, you're in the six-figure, $100,000 mark. But some of these other careers as well, and this does not include overtime, and so this is base salary, and so these are great paying jobs at those places for if these are things that you'd like to do. So find ways to do it. We need more people coming into the trade, into the skills. So this is another opportunity if you need something to deal with of how to engage. All right. Now I'm going to finish with this thing here. Out of all the skills, we really mainly talked about communication today, you know, the feedback loop. We talked about handshakes and eye contact. We talked about being able to handle conflict resolution, which means you got to know where yourself is and hopefully keep yourself calm so that you're not going over and kind of taking it to another level. But 10 things that don't require any talent at all, just you to be there, showing up and being on time. That's something that is very valuable, but doesn't require skills, doesn't require talent. Work ethic, working as hard as you can is vital to achieving your goals. Putting in the effort. So work ethic is one thing, having the ethic do it, but then actually the effort that you give, even when it's something that you don't want to do, start looking at, again, what your belief system is. If the person that you believe yourself to be, would they give effort in this situation or not? Think about your body language. I told you that 75% of what we engage is communicate is nonverbal. So your body language is something that you can do. If you always like this and you sucking your teeth and rolling your eyes and everything else that could come along with it, or with us dudes, we mean mug, we hold our head down and we look, all those types of things are great in your own home and then they have a place in their own times. But the reality of it is when somebody's talking to you and engaging with you, you want to make sure you're present and you're fully paying attention to them and so they can fully pay attention to you. Energy, right? Not only is it effort, body language, but it's energy. Coming in there excited to be able to do it. Your attitude, of course, is one of those things. You know, your mama, probably your mom, your peoples, your father, your people, everybody told you watch your attitude, right? It's always, you got attitudes as adults, you got attitudes as kids. People have bad days, believe me, but an attitude is something that if it's positive, you can change a lot of things around you, even when you're going through negative things, all right? Passion is one of those things that if you have it, it's almost like motor to your engine, right? So when you believe based on your belief system, your passion helps fuel your belief in who you are, okay? Be passionate about yourself. Be passionate about being who you want to be and pursuing your dreams and your goals, because it is a possibility that you can do. Being coachable. What that means, y'all know what being coachable means, right? It means you listen well and somebody can tell you something and you respond to it, which means that even if it's not good, even if it's not something you can use, you don't throw it in the trash, okay? Be coachable, learn those games, do more. You're always doing more than the next person is. Yeah, that's what's required, but what's required may not be enough to get you where you're going, okay? You have to do extra, you got to do more. Don't be the one that says, I wish I would have done more so I could have gotten here. Do more and do more than you need to do so that you have enough and you have more stored up than what you need. And the last thing in this thing is to be prepared. Being prepared along with all these other things are just a bunch of things that we can do together or we can do individually that can change how we show up at work, how we show up at school, how we show up in our friendships and our other relationships that we have, and make us better in how we engage. All right. Listen, I appreciate you all today. There's my email there. You can find me on LinkedIn. If you don't have LinkedIn, it's something I think you should do. It's a great social network for business professionals. It's not too early to start your LinkedIn profile and start engaging with other professionals in that space, listening to a lot of the information that's out there on those pieces. Again, it's been my pleasure and my honor. Dan Lester, look forward to hearing from you all. If you have any questions, I'd love to hear from you, or also feel free to email me as well.
Hey, Dan, I want to say thank you so much for the presentation this morning. It was very insightful, a lot of information. I think one of my favorite slides you had actually part of the presentation was things that require zero talent. I like the pay one too. That's a big deal, especially when I was younger. But what requires zero talent, and a lot of those things is just something we can change every single day in our life. I want to thank everybody for being a part of this today. I just dropped a post survey actually in the link. Dan Lester and CCDI, they will be at the What's Next fair that I mentioned at the top of this presentation. I'll show you all this real quick. They will be there, so if you have additional questions, you can ask it now in the chat. So Dan will entertain questions now. You can feel free to reach out to him individually, reach out to myself. I can pass those on to Dan. Dan or his team will be at the What's Next fair. One of them will be there. So please, thank you for being a part of it. Please complete the post survey. Is there anything anyone would like to ask or say, anything like that? I'll open up the floor right now. Okay. Got nothing in here. I know a few classes are getting ready to transition, so I know some classes might start to get a little loud in a second. But if there is anything you all would like to ask at a later date or comments at a later date, please let me know and I'll pass those on to Dan. Thank you all for participating this morning. Please complete the post survey. I got quite a few from the pre-survey, so post survey also. Any comments or questions, let us know. That is our time, everyone. As you transition to your next classes and next places in your schools, have an amazing day. Okay, I see a thumbs up from Miss Graham. Did somebody else unmute? Okay, okay, cool. Okay, well, thank you, everybody. You all have an amazing day. Once again, want to thank Citi for being our official sponsor for our virtual transferable skills seminars and also our What's Next components and our project graduation. Thank you, Dan Lester from CCDI for being a part of this, and also thank all the schools for hopping in. Thank you all, and I'll send you all the email, obviously the information pertaining to this and all the survey results to respective schools. Have a great day.